Greetings and welcome to another impressions video here at Words About Games, and today we're going to be looking at Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is a bold new direction for the franchise as Bethesda takes the traditionally lonesome single-player RPG online, crafting instead a survival-focused adventure game with less of a focus on RPG elements and a greater focus on action, survival, and building, with the added feature of being able to play with friends or random strangers you've been thrown together with. Unfortunately, it's not a move that's paid off for Fallout 76 for a variety of reasons. Let's start with the technical issues. Fallout 76 is an unfinished game that strongly resembles something in early access, except this is a full-price, supposedly finished AAA game released on an unsuspecting public. Yes, it's a Bethesda game, which means bugs are to be expected, not that that's a valid excuse for any game. Even if you used a lower bar to measure Fallout 76 against, this is a catastrophically broken game whose release is completely unacceptable. The frame rate is the most constant issue here and is constantly dropping. Fighting multiple enemies, exploring buildings densely packed with objects, and generally wandering Appalachia will see the frame rate plummet. To exist in Fallout 76 is to be constantly grappling with a fluctuating frame rate, which makes this a constantly unpleasant experience that's difficult to play. But Fallout 76's problems extend far deeper than a wonky frame rate. The game constantly freezes, and you'll be taking your life into your hands every time you even open the map. I've suffered numerous crashes from the game simply deciding it doesn't want to work anymore, forcing me to restart and lose a ton of progress on a half-dozen occasions. Even when the game doesn't outright crash, its habit of freezing up for sometimes 10 seconds at a time will get me killed by enemies that didn't get the memo that I was unable to play. Lag and desync issues are ever present, with shots taking precious extra seconds to register or sometimes failing to connect altogether, which makes Fallout 76's already subpar combat maddeningly inconsistent. Textures and sometimes entire objects refuse to load whether you're at a distance or standing right next to them. At one point, all of the colour started disappearing from my character and the world around her, inexplicably turning Fallout 76 into a hybrid noir adventure. This is by no means an exhaustive list of the bugs I've encountered, nor have I been hit the worst with technical issues. I've heard some truly horrible horror stories from friends who have also played the game. It's a damning indictment of a game that was clearly not ready to be released, and its completely unacceptable performance alone should tell you all you need to know to steer clear of this broken mess of a game. All of this would be one thing if the underlying game itself was worth it. Just ride out the bugs until the patches arrive to fix it, and then enjoy your time surviving the West Virginian wasteland. Unfortunately, the rest of Fallout 76 is just as much not worth your time. What lurks beneath the cavalcade of bugs is a confused game, one that strips away most of what makes Fallout a compelling franchise, choosing instead to focus on the series' weakest elements at the expense of the entire experience. The decision to strip the world of NPCs was certainly a mistake. The idea behind this choice is to make the players the NPCs you'd normally meet in a Fallout game. Instead of towns or hubs full of characters to interact with, other players are your only source of interaction aside from robots and enemies. You'll get quests from audio logs for the most part, following trails of breadcrumbs to the same inevitable conclusion. Spoiler alert, whoever's voice you're listening to is dead, because again, there are no NPCs here. This creates an empty world that feels utterly hollow. It's impossible to get invested in anything that you're tasked with doing because all you have to tether yourself to are the disembodied voices of people who are long dead, alongside the occasional computer or robot. It doesn't help that the quests you're giving are the worst kind of fetch quests. Time and time again, you're merely tasked with going to a place, picking up an item, and bringing it back to where you started. Rinse and repeat ad infinitum. Not that you'll particularly care either way. The stories in Fallout 76 are dull at best and downright insulting at worst. Quests include such highlights as picking up some bottles to clear up a shooting range, running 100 meters to push a button, and going down a hill to retrieve a holotape for a robot. There's zero depth here, save for a poorly conceived main quest where all of the actual story has already happened, and you're just following along, finding audio logs and mopping up. Even the environmental storytelling, a usual strong suit of a Fallout game, is lacking. Most environments are merely a series of enemies and loot containers, existing purely to give players combat and mountains of junk to turn into better weapons, armor, or furnishings for their mobile base camp. If you're ever sent to a location, the chances are what you need is right next to the front door. The rest of the place is superfluous, with nothing but a bit of loot to grab and some enemies to fight, if you're so inclined. Combat is as clunky as it's ever been in a Fallout game, with one hideous exception. VATS, the system that let players sidestep the awkward gunplay, has been eviscerated. Thanks to the move online, VATS no longer slows the game down to let you target your enemies. Now, the same system exists in real time, and thanks to the dumb AI moving back and forth in front of you, it's more or less useless. Despite it locking on to the enemy, you'll actually be more accurate abandoning it and just engaging in the first person shooting yourself, no matter how janky said shooting actually is. The other big focus here are the game's survival mechanics. Aside from building your base, which is largely unchanged from Fallout 4 and is actually a fairly fun experience, you'll need to manage obnoxiously implemented thirst and hunger meters whose sole purpose is to barge in on your experience to remind you to eat and drink because... reasons. You can mitigate the impact as well as improve many other facets of your character with Fallout 76's new card-based leveling system. Every level, you're able to equip a new card by spending a point in a special ability that governs things like strength, endurance, perception, and the like. Except unlocking new cards is completely random, meaning you actually have little control over how your character levels up. Want to improve your hacking skill? Well, you'll be out of luck unless you're fortunate enough to find a hacking card in a pack, no matter how many points you dump into the relevant stat. Fallout 76 feels like a compromised game. There are a whole heap of changes made to accommodate the traditional Fallout experience in an online environment, but these changes all but strip away what makes Fallout a unique experience in the first place. I've no idea why this exists. Well, that's not true, it's obviously going to make Bethesda a ton of money, but as a game it sinks under the weight of so many issues that what little there is here to enjoy is overshadowed. Between the oftentimes horrific technical issues and the many questionable design choices, there's no real reason for Fallout 76 to exist, save for the aforementioned cash it'll make off the back of leveraging the Fallout brand. A brand that could find itself damaged by the poor excuse for a multiplayer action game that Fallout 76 is. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you've enjoyed it, please keep it here at Words About Games. We've got tons of content, including our weekly podcast, more impressions videos, patch notes, and our weekly indie game of the week. We also stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. And most importantly, have a great day.